Hey, what is up, you guys? TITOBODS here, and today we are going to talk all about Tactician archers. Because last time I promised you guys that we're going to have a Ramesses archer march guide and maybe some other lineups there. And since I think it's fair to actually give you all the possible lineups for the Tactician archers. And since season 1, I have been on that shoe because I really was using Tactician marches. So in this video, we're going to talk all about that. I'm going to give you the ideas on the lineups. I'm going to give you the builds. I'm going to give you the rings that you can use. And of course, what are the pairings and what are the gems. Hopefully you have already checked out our Ramesses video. If not yet, why not? But here is the video, and I'm going to leave a link in the description down below so that you guys can actually watch it for yourself. But anyway, guys, before we continue with the video, here's a short words from our partner for today.
Eneba is your go-to digital store for games, gift cards, game points, and top-ups. And with TITOBOD's special link, you can get up to 20% cashback on Age of Empires mobile products, only on the marketplace. Eneba, the fastest growing marketplace for gamers. Ahoo!
Okay, so now that we're done with that, if you have any questions regarding that, please leave a comment down below and I'm going to answer your question as soon as I can. Now, let's move on to our Tactician Archer Marches. So this is what we have. So in Season 1, it's going to be a little bit tricky because we don't really have that main commander for this march. Now, if your main troops are archers, and you want to really focus the Tactician March, this is what we can do. So you have your Sun-Shin as your primary commander, then your Theo, and then your Seondeok. So my Seondeok is only 1 star. I did a 1 star on Seondeok in Season 1, and Sun-Shin was actually like, let's say, 3 stars back then, or 2 stars. I kind of forget because he is a free-to-play hero that you can get in the tavern, and it's hard to actually get a lot of his hero medals. And I don't want you guys to get legendary hero medals or to use those medals on any of these 3 heroes. You can get Theo also in this pulse here, and you can actually also get them in the heroic expedition. Now, Queen Seondeok is a little bit tricky. You can get her in the chest, but as I've said, you can only get her also here on this part of the game. There are also a downside to this because this is actually not a combo per se, but in Season 1, this is the only thing that you have. So here we are going to check what build you can use on them with the help of his commander skill, his signature skill, and then I want you guys to get your skills for this one. If you are going to be a damage build, you want your conflagration and then strategy master's gift, because strategy master's gift will give you strategy damage 30% and activation chance of your signature skill plus conflagration. Now the best thing about Sun-Shin here is your signature skill, because this is, even though this is a charging state, the damage is pretty good with 320% plus strategy bonus, and then increases the damage of the next signature active skill activated by your hero with the highest strategy, which can be Sun-Shin, because there is no indication that Sun-Shin's skill should actually be on a hero except him. So if he has the highest strategy, he will get these buffs. And also on his commander skill, deals damage up to 5 enemy troops, which is actually pretty good in the arena and in the battlefield, because this build is pretty tanky with Theo and Queen Seondeok. Now this one also reduces your troops' might damage taken by 15%, which is good. Now this is for 9 seconds, which really is good. The only downside of this commander skill is actually the lack of initial rage. As you can see here, you will not see any initial rage in the description, and its rage cost is pretty high. So you need at least that initial rage, at least 100 or 150, which is pretty normal for other hero commander. That's why I think Sun-Shin is really not for a commander position, but in Season 1, that is actually what you need to do. Now for your Theo, we all know that Theo has this reduction on his signature skills, plus you have your skill active or signature active skill damage extra by 35% once you max her out. And then another reduction here on the first commander skill damage taken by your troop after entering the battle, which is pretty huge at 30%, which is really good. And this is actually what's the best for her. You need to give her or use a heal on her. So either you get your immortal army and war tactics, or if you want to be a little bit offensive, what you can do is maneuver. So maneuver will help your commander to activate his signature skill with a charging state and skip it. So that's actually what your maneuver can do. So if you can max this out, it will really help your Sun-Shin. Now, Immortal Army is pretty important. Do not use War Tactic, but instead use Immortal Army because this actually use debuffs. So you can actually debuff your hero or your troops if you have any ailments or status. So this is actually pretty good also when it comes to healing. It can reach up to 300% recovery rate at max. Now, here is the thing. With when it comes to your Queen Seondeok, it's actually also a good one because of the signature skill that deals also silence, as you can see here. Deals strategy damage given, yes, plus the strategy bonus with a chance of inflicting silence. Now, this is for 3 seconds. Now, the only downside of Queen Seondeok is you can't really get more of her stars unless you actually spend. But I don't want you guys to do that, so don't do it. You can actually use maybe a purple skill on her. Maybe you want your Theo to have both the War Tactics and the Immortal Army, which is pretty good. So you can use your maneuver here on your Queen Seondeok. And then you can also use another healing if you want to be tanky, as I've said, because in Season 1, well, actually in Season 1, you don't really need to be that tanky because you don't have that much disadvantage because Lubu is not there yet. So what my suggestion is, you can do your War Tactics on your Theo and then maneuver here. And if you want to be more offensive, Immortal Army can also be used here, but it's only for the heals. Because the thing is, if you will do War Tactics, Queen Seondeok really doesn't have that much strategy to play around with. So maneuver, for me, if you are not going to use your Queen Seondeok in Season 2 or in other season, I don't want you guys to be using any other legendary skill here. But since there is a reset, you can actually do it. So if you want to be more offensive, conflagration, I think is really, really good because you already have heals. So why not add another damage? That's what I think is good for this March. Now, for the rings in Season 1, if you are really going for it, if you want, let's say, a defensive ring to be your primary legendary ring, I suggest the Tranquil Water. And if you're going to use Tranquil Water as your main here, what I want you to get for your other hero is actually your Ring of Serpent. Because Ramesses, when Ramesses comes, you can actually use the Ring of Serpent on Ramesses, and you are going to really love the bonus of this one. And another ring that you can use with this March for more healing, go for Ring of Falcon. Now, again, if you want more buff and you cannot afford the Tranquil Water ring, another ring that you can add to your arsenal is actually the Ring of Growth. So you will have like 3 purple ring, which is actually okay also in that matter. So use your Ring of Crow on your Seondeok, and then use your healing, of course, or your Falcon ring on your Theo, which will increase her healing effects, which is good. And then your Serpent ring on your... In Season 2, this will change. So if you are preparing for Season 2 already, now the thing here is that since Season 2 or this March really needs a little bit of investment, I don't really recommend this Marches or this particular March, which is Tactician Archers 2 free-to-play players, because it's really hard. You need really investment for this to click. So you need to save up at least, if you only have, like, let's say, one legendary ring throughout the game until you can max it out to level 30, let's say, you go for the Everflame Wing Rings because you will need this in Season 2. Now, let's transition in Season 2. In Season 2, your Suleiman is going to be available. So in Season 2, what will happen is this March, which is going to be really, really cool. Like, the thing here is, the key here is actually, if this is going to be your main March, you need a little bit of investment more than the usual low spenders or mid spenders, let's say. Because you're going to need a specific ring for this one and skills that will help this March in the battlefield. Now, for your Suleiman, this is actually what we want. And you can also do a Seondeok here. If you want to activate Suleiman, you can do a Seondeok, but this is only the least of the lineup that I want you guys to get. But rather, I want you guys to get YSS here instead. So if this is your March, you're going to be really, really good in Season 2, unless you are fighting against a Lubu. So you need to really help yourself avoid the Lubu March because it's going to annihilate you. Now, if you are a Suleiman, your Suleiman actually has a good commander skill. Now, this one deals strategy damage to the enemy troop. Then the damage rate is 285% plus strategy bonus and inflicts an incapacitation, which your incapacitation heroes cannot deal any damage for 3 seconds. But they cannot also be, let's say, incapacitated for 3 seconds. And grants also additional 100 initial rage. This is what I said was lacking on the commander skill of Sun-Shin. His signature skill, which enters the charging state again, because this is pretty normal in this type of March. Now, deals strategy damage to the enemy troop, 275%, extra strategy bonus, and then inflicts the burn effect, which you will have those effects very important here. because when you have the burn effect on your enemy, it deals extra strategy damage to your enemy with a strategy bonus. Also, if you have silence on the enemy and this hits, you will increase the hero's next skill damage by 15%. And if the enemy is incapacitated, recovers your troops unit, which is really, really good. It will be really, really tanky, especially in the field. If the question is, will this be able to activate at the same time? There is a chance that this can actually activate at the same time as long as you have the burn effect, silence, and incapacitation at the same given time. There is actually no statement in this signature skill that says that it will not stack. As you can see, it only says that based on the enemy's current debuffs. Now, you can do multiple debuffs on your enemy. You can have burn, you can have silence, or incapacitation. Now, the thing here that I really want to get is if you want more damage, the Strategy Master's Gift is always gives you strategy damage and activation chance of your signature active skill. Now, the only thing that you're going to miss is actually that charging state because you're going to wait 3 seconds. Now, you can use a flash of inspiration for sure with the charging state when there is a 65% chance to skip the charging state. Yes, it will really help. If failed, it will increase the signature skill activation for 6 seconds, but you will have to have your other heroes get your configuration, like maybe your YSS. Now, the thing with your YSS is this is another activation chance, so there will be a missing burn effect right off the bat. So, but this is actually a good thing also that you can use your Strategy Master's Gift plus Flash of Inspiration because of the ring that I want you guys to get. Now, the thing here is that the key is getting a ring that is very specific for this one, which is the Everflame Wings, because this one inflicts the burn effect, number 1, plus you can have a chance also to silence the enemy, which is 2 for 1. This is a very, very important ring in this March so that you can actually get more of the bonuses of your Suleiman's signature skill so that you will have more damage and more control over your enemy. And this never missed. I mean, this is actually the best ring for Suleiman. Not Suleiman himself, but for the March. You can use this on maybe YSS and maybe defensive ring on your Theo, and then another offensive ring for your Suleiman. Now, for your Theo, same goes. I want you guys to get your hands on the Immortal Army. But if you are not going to get your Flash of Inspiration, I want you guys to get the Maneuver. If not Maneuver and you have the Flash of Inspiration, go for War Tactics. So that's the build that I want you guys to get. Now, for your YSS, the build here is to actually tank or to actually boost your Suleiman. Now, this will boost your Suleiman. So Suleiman is going to get the 70% of strategy. Now, this is actually when your YSS, I think, is at max. But yeah, also another one is you want to get your hands on the configuration to always have that burn effect. Because the ring, the Everflame ring will not have that much activation of it. Plus, this will make sure that you will get that burn effect to your enemy for the extra activation of a damage for the March. Now, if ever, since your heals are with your Theo, you can get your hands on configuration plus Strategy Master's Gift for extra activation and extra damage of this one. Because this one will activate your signature active skill. Now, here, the damage is not that important, but rather the extra boost that your Tidal Flood can give to your highest strategy hero, which is going to be your Suleiman. So that's actually the key there. So for the rings, as I've said, if not, same as earlier, if not the ring of Serpent here, and you can afford another legendary ring, go for Azure Moon. Now, if you can't, then go for the other one. Now, for me here, if not the Tranquil Water, which is pretty good, you know, then go for still the Ring of Falcon. It's really, really solid. Now, Judgment Ring can also be used here, but yeah, that's what I want you to get. Now, if you cannot afford another purple ring, you can go for the Ring of Clover. Where's my Ring of Clover? So here. No, not that one. Ring of Clover, yes. Now, do not get the Ring of Lily for your Theo because I only get this Ring of Lily to heroes with the Peaceful Haven because it's going to be really, really useful in that scenario. But with her, she doesn't have that, so I don't want you guys to get the Ring of Lily. Instead, go for the Ring of Clover. It will provide you with your best defense. Now, for your YSS, you can actually get another ring here that will help your Suleiman, which is, as I've said, Ring of Crow. Can actually be also good here. Or if you want to be a little bit more defensive again, go for the Ring of Clover. Then your Ring of Falcon for your Theo can actually also be good. As long as you have a little bit of defense here, you can also do that. But you can now also get your hands on the Everflame Wing Rings for your YSS if you're not going to use it on your Suleiman, because you really need this ring to be the best that this lineup can be. So hopefully that will help you guys out. Once Season 3 hits, you will get your Charlemagne and your Ramesses. Now, if you cannot win the MGE, it's okay. You don't really need to get your hands on Ramesses to be a very efficient tactician archer. But the thing here is that you're going to choose which of these heroes you are going to dispose of. And I want you guys to choose Theo to stay instead of YSS. Now, because of Theo's capability to boost your damage with your Suleiman #1, plus another one is to really have the sustainability, because your Charlemagne can actually do some of the stuff that your YSS can do or can provide. So you can see here, this is going to be your build. No such drastic changes on the builds before. Still Immortal Army and War Tactics for your Theo. And then for me, Flash of Inspiration and still Strategy Master's Gift for your Suleiman. Now, another thing is your Charlemagne can actually now have this chance to actually help your hero Suleiman with the signature skills to immediately use. And when it enters the charging state, when it's already charging, the charging state will immediately take effect. So now with the skill damage increase also, which is really, really good, and the commander strategy and might, which is really, really good. And for me, you can still use your Flash of Inspiration, but when you have your Charlemagne already, you can actually opt out from the Flash of Inspiration, because most of this one is actually from that. But I think for me, still, I was using this one and it's pretty good. It can be redundant in a way, but for me, it's actually better. I mean, like that's actually how I think it is. Now, for now, we want a conflagration from your Charlemagne because of the burn effect. So I've said you'll need at least one of this in the full march. Now, you can choose between War Tactic and Sowing Discord in the march. So Bloodthirst is actually a might damage. So that's why I want you guys to get the War Tactics and not the Bloodthirst, because this lineup is more on the strategy. So you want War Tactics instead of Bloodthirst. Now, if you are on the offensive side, you want your Sowing Discord. You will get damage, plus you will steal strategy from your enemy to your own commander, which gives him a little bit of buff. So still though, I will favor the War Tactics a little bit more because of the heal. So that's what I want you to get. Now still for the rings, I want you guys to get still the same rings for your Suleiman, which is your previous ring, Azure Moon. If not Azure Moon, I want you guys to get the Ring of Serpent. Now, if you want, you can also use the Everflame Wing Rings here, but I want that on my Charlemagne, so that I can still have an offensive ring for my Suleiman, because he is the commander. And really, if you are not going to use this ring here, another ring for this one is still the Ring of Crow, which is this one, which is really going to be good with this march also. So that's actually what I want you guys to have. And if not, if you want to be a little bit tanky, you can use the Lofty Mountain Ring, which is pretty cool also, because this is a strategy extra. The bonus, you can see there, this is going to be, you're going to be a little bit tanky, plus with extra damages, and also damages after 18 seconds. So it's really, really cool. Now, you can also use the Skyward Knight Ring, which is pretty cool also, but I want you guys instead to get the Everflame Wings Ring, which is very important. Never miss that one here. Now, you want another defensive here. As I've said, you can use the Lofty Mountain here if you want to be defensive plus offensive. Or if you want to be pure tank on your Theo, you can use the Tranquil Water here. But if you're on a budget, go for Ring of Falcon. And if you really are in a super budget position, go for the Ring of Clover. So those are the rings I want you to get for this march. Now, the only thing is, now, if you have a Ramesses, same goes. The only thing, or the only hero that you will actually change is your Ramesses, then your Theo, and your Charlemagne. So I want your Charlemagne to be on the second, as always. Now, the thing here is that you can now change your Everflame Wing Rings. If this is your march, you don't really need that much of the Everflame Wing Rings, but it's still pretty useful here if you want that one. Now, for your Ramesses, the only rings or the only skills that you want is your Flame of Genesis and Strategy Master's Gift. Since we already explained, or I already explained, your skill of Storm of Set and also the Son of Ra, I will just give you a little bit of review with here. So your Son of Ra will activate your Storm of Set. Now, your Storm of Set here deals strategy damage, and you will have rage for the first 30-second extra for this one, and then after that it will be reduced to only 8. Now this is at the max level, okay? This is at the max level. Now your Son of Ra will activate your signature skill per seconds. So you can see here, once you enter the Holy Blessing state, you will increase first your strategy, yes, and activating an additional signature skill once per seconds. This is for 9 seconds, so 9 activations. And it has also initial rage, which is 150, which is really good. Now the only problem with your commander skill is that your signature skill will have a 40% reduced damage. That's the only thing, which is a huge amounts of damage. But once you have that, it will act like a machine gun because it will activate every single second. So for me, his best is actually when in the battlefield, and his maybe decent to worst is actually when he is in a rally. But the only skills I want you guys to have, as I've said, are these two: Flame of Genesis and Strategy Master's Gift. Now you don't need to really change a lot when it comes to the skill of your Charlemagne, but my main build here is your Charlemagne to have both heals of Bloodthirst and War Tactics. Although Bloodthirst will not really deal that much damage, but what we're after really is a bit of damage, number one, plus the recovery rate. So these two are really, really cool. Now for your Ramesses, you can use actually the Lofty Mountain here. You can use the Everflame Wing Rings for your Ramesses. And also, if not, you can actually use Azure Moon Ring here, which extra damages are being dealt with this one, and actually another Ring of Serpent. Those are the rings that you want. And sometimes there are players that are using the Ring of Lion, which is I think the least one you want to get in this March only. Now for your Charlemagne, this one can also be used, your Everflame Wing Rings. You can use a Tranquil Water to be a little bit more tanky on your Charlemagne, but if your Everflame Wing Rings is with your Ramesses, you can use your Lofty Mountain ring here on your Charlemagne. Now for your Theo here, if this is your build, either you want to get your hands on the Skyward Knight. Why? Number one, you have a chance to have more damage, number one. Increase commander's damage, plus their signature active skill activation chance will be also increased. And the thing here is that when your skills are being activated more, or having a chance to activate more, once you have this one, you will activate it way earlier. And having that said, you will have more, let's say, troops and help before you activate your commander skill, which is going to be huge impact and difference when you don't activate it as soon as you can. Now, as I've said, you can use also your Tranquil Water Ring here if you're not going to use the Skyward Knight. The reason why your Skyward Knight is way better on your Theo than your, let's say, Charlemagne is because your Charlemagne can actually deal a little bit more damage than your Theo because of the progression of strategy. So Charlemagne has a little bit of chance or higher chance to activate or deal damage. Now your Theo will have an Immortal Army which doesn't have damage. Will have her signature skill which doesn't have damage. So it's only logical to have your Skyward Knight that reduces the hero's damage dealt by 15%, which is going to be the wearer of the ring, to be on a healer like Theo, and instead of getting it to Charlemagne. So that's why it's important to get it here. Now your Theo can also get your Tranquil Water if you want to be more tanky, plus the Ring of Falcon, and as I've said before, Ring of Clover still is good for this March. Now this is actually one of the stronger March in the game, but I think there is still a good chance that a Suleiman maxed out with the same builds can actually defeat this one, especially if if this lineup is silenced first before anything else, plus incapacitated in a way. Now the last thing here is when Zhuge Liang arrives. So same thing, nothing's going to change. Also in your Suleiman, the only thing that's going to change is your Theodora. You can actually get your hands on your Zhuge Liang here. Just use everything that you have on your Theo, on your Charlemagne and your Ramesses, and then on your Theo, just transfer everything to your Zhuge Liang. The only difference with your Zhuge Liang is now you can use a heal ring. Like for example, your Falcon ring here is going to be way better. Your Ring of Lily will now be useful here because your Zhuge Liang actually has a Peaceful Haven. As you can see there, I'm using Zhuge Liang. You have your Peaceful Haven, which you will always have that 20%. Even it says 20, even if it says 3 seconds, you will always have that. Now, for me, Zhuge Liang can be good at 3 stars, but he is best when he is at his 5 stars. Number one, because you will get the highest strategy and stats, or the highest strategy that you can get from a Zhuge Liang, which will transfer eventually to your either Ramesses or Suleiman. And with the help of that, you will also have the reduction of damage up to 80% of damage taken, which is really cool, depending on the depending on the situation. Now, it also increases the damage of the commander's signature active skill by 15% and has a 50% chance to recover, as I've said, which is good. Now, the other thing that is good with him is actually borrowing the East Wind. So I think that is it for me today, guys, and hopefully you have learned something from this video. And now the question are for you, squad. What do you think about these lineups that I have mentioned here in this video? I know this is a little bit longer than I anticipated, and hopefully this will help the new players, not specifically free-to-play players, because as I said, you need a little bit of investment at least if you want to use this Tactician Archer Marches. So if you have any questions or other clarifications regarding this video or this builds or any of the thing that I mentioned here, please leave a comment down below and let's talk about it. And if you have any recommendations or suggestion that is not mentioned here, please also leave them down, and our squad members can actually see them and maybe can help them out with their builds. And as always, have a great day to everyone. This is your TITOBODS, and I will see you in the next one. And hey, click on this video right here for more awesome TITOBODS content. Thanks for watching, you guys, and TITOBODS out.